the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching VSiN's College Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, where you get your winners.
The board is lighting up as we've got kickoffs about to get underway. Tim Murray with you for another hour as we continue to tailgate. It is the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show each and every Saturday here on VSiN from 10 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Coming up in 15 minutes, Dan Rubenstein, an Oregon alum, co-host of the Solid Verbal podcast. He will jump on, give us his thoughts on the Civil War. Will his alma mater finally wake up from their slumber? Betting market seems to indicate they have. Stormy Bonatoni, our colleague, she'll join us live from her site. Cal and San Diego State is her game. She's got the late night game tonight there, as we'll get some thoughts on that. How about this, ladies and gentlemen? I waited all day. Come on, give me the 17. Come on, give me the 17. Went the other way. Alabama now at Circa, down to a 14-point favorite. So we were inching close to 17, never got there, and now it's down to 14. So late action, that steam, as people would like to say, coming in on the Wisconsin Badgers. So Kenny White is going to have some CLV. I took some 16.5 with them as well. So we ride with Kenny White. That was his best bet from earlier today. A couple updates before we get a little no huddle. Pick up the pace here. Get you ready for all the other games that are going on today. Oklahoma State Tulsa looks like some late action coming in on the Golden Hurricane. As this game down to 17.5. This was a best bet out there from the Friday Football Invitational as well. Texas Tech getting some money into the market. Remember, big news there. Taj Brooks, who did not play last week, their leading rusher, over 1,500 yards a year ago. He is expected to play today against the Mean Green of North Texas. Florida State, status quo, laying at 6.5 here against Memphis. No real movement on Cincinnati, Miami of Ohio. The hooks got removed. A little bit of money, believe it or not, on the boys from Ruston. Louisiana Tech, 20.5 or 20. That was 21 most of the week. The game we've kept a close eye on, I've got a bet on +7. It was a best bet from Matt Humans. South Carolina, LSU, a little bit of LSU money coming in. Jimmy Ott mentioned that at 6, he would actually be looking a little bit towards LSU. Those hooks starting to show up as that game about to kick off momentarily. And money coming in on the Red Wolves of Arkansas State. That game going to close at 21.5. So we'll keep you updated on all the games that are going on across college football. But we got 9 minutes, and we got to run some hurry-up offense here. So let's do it. Let's run through as many games as we can. Oh, we got a little music underneath. We're ready to go. We haven't talked about Chirp Chirp, the boys from Muncie, Ball State. Why would we talk about them? Oh, they're going to Coral Gables to take on Miami. Cam Ward and company do. The Hurricanes keep it rolling. Miami taking on Ball State later on today. And Cam Ward could be headed to New York at some point. They are laying 36.5 are the Canes. 3:30 Eastern kickoff, total of 55. We've talked about this game a little bit today. The backyard brawl. I'll be honest, I am not a big Pat Narduzzi guy, but Jimmy Ott, he's putting his faith in Pat Narduzzi and the Pitt Panthers. And we've seen a little bit of money come in on the Pitt Panthers. Down to 1.5 across the market. West Virginia laying that short number. What do Neil Brown's squad have in store after their loss 2 weeks ago against Penn State at home? Pittsburgh, how about a comeback last week? Down 21 to get that win over Cincinnati, 28-27. I kind of like the Pittsburgh Panthers here in this particular spot. The Apple Cup, Washington State and Washington. Talked about this game a little bit earlier on with Mike Sanford. He likes the dog here in this particular spot. And if you like quarterback play, Will Rogers has been very strong, the transfer from Mississippi State. But how about the man replacing Cam Ward, John Mateer? He rushed all over Texas Tech last week. John Mateer ran for 197 yards last week, but the betting market does like the Huskies here in this spot. The market has continued to move up with Washington here. It is now sitting at 6 in favor of the Huskies. Not a home game per se for the Huskies. Technically, it is a neutral site because it has the Seahawks Stadium, Lumen Field, 3:30 Eastern kickoff there. Total sitting at 54. The Iowa Hawkeyes, boy, not a great result last week for your boy because Iowa, a win total I have over 7.5. They're up 13-0. They're up 19-7. They can't blow it to Iowa State. Oh, but they can. 54-yard field goal at the end of that game. So how do the Iowa Hawkeyes respond against a team that has been depleted from a year ago, the Troy Trojans? They lost their head coach in John Summerall to go to Tulane. Tulane has looked the part so far this year. Could be a real contender in the AAC. One thing I would look at if had to play it, I don't know if Troy's going to score any points. The total is super low, but under 7.5 team total, probably the way I would go there with the Troy Trojans. A very good group of 5 showdown. East Carolina taking on Appalachian State, the boys from Boone. Ooh, buddy, how about that last week? Clemson absolutely smashed Appalachian State, and the market thinks that will continue. Maybe not to the effect of 66-20, but East Carolina opened as a 3-point dog. They are now a 1-point dog pretty much market-wide, so money has come in on ECU here in Greenville, 4 o'clock Eastern start time. I did earlier in the week take a little bit of East Carolina money. Cam Rising missed all of last year due to injury, not expected to play tonight against Utah State. Utah coming off of a workmanlike effort against Baylor, got the victory. Utah State, it has not been pretty there for the Aggies in the post-Gary Anderson era. Number has come down, though, this week. Right now, you can get a 19.5 out there, mostly 18s across the market. Total has been on the move most of this week. I split my unit, took a little bit of Utah State here, took a little bit of the under. If Utah State could score 10 points, I think we get this cover. I don't know what Utah's mindset is, especially with what's on deck there for the Utes, as next week they have to go on the road to Boone Pickens Stadium and take on Oklahoma State. So that'll be a hold on to your butt special there. Utah State taking the points. Ole Miss, they just love to cover, man. Jackson Dart putting up big-time numbers. I know a lot of people were interested in him in the Heisman market on the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast over the summer. Stanford Steve of ESPN said, give me Jackson Dart at 14-1 to win the Heisman Trophy. Ole Miss heading into this game laying close to 3 touchdowns in this particular spot. Number has trickled down just a little bit. 20-19 showing, total of 64-64.5. So you got an ugly dog here at Wake Forest. Do I dare take it? No, I'm not going to take it. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, he knows the number. A pass for me on this game. Ole Miss continues to put up big-time scores. And Wake Forest, boy, Dave Clawson's squad, once a team to always bet on. You don't feel that way so much anymore. Letdown spot galore. Steve Sarkisian showed his team the tape of Northern Illinois blocking the game-winning field goal attempt and beating Notre Dame. He said, avoid the letdown. Will they avoid the letdown this week? UTSA, meet, laying 35 or catching 35 against this Texas squad. Number 2, are they a little fat and happy after their performance last week? It's a no play for me. I know Chris Felica, the Bear, does like UTSA, one of his best bets in the Circa Friday Sports Invitational. How about Georgia and Kentucky? 84% of the action on the Georgia Bulldogs here in this spot. Not an ideal situation late last night as Daniel Harris, one of the Georgia cornerbacks, was arrested for reckless driving. Another situation there for Georgia. But the big one to note here, Michael Williams, who could be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, is going to be out of this game. Brock Vandagriff, the revenge game, went 3 of 10 last week. The former Georgia Bulldog. I don't know how that's going to play out here. No play for me. I like ugly dogs, but I am not going to grab the Kentucky Wildcats. Big Blue Nation could struggle there against Georgia, but the public, as something to note, loves Georgia, 84% of the bets. How about Northern Iowa at Nebraska? We talked about some sandwich spots. I like sandwiches. Probably not going to eat them on the air anymore after choking a little bit during that segment. But Nebraska laying 30.5 here against Northern Iowa. Last week, domination of Colorado, 28-10, national television. Next week, a Friday night showdown with Illinois, who just beat Kansas, is on the precipice of being a top 25 team. This week, FCS Northern Iowa comes to town. I think if we got 31, I would be intrigued by Northern Iowa. I still would look a little bit towards Northern Iowa here. Once again, get that clothespin out, put it on the nose. Does Nebraska take their foot off the pedal with a short week upcoming? That could be a possibility. Northern Iowa, a decent FCS program, not in the top 25, but certainly a solid team. How about our guy, Wes Reynolds? He's headed out to the Rose Bowl. Maybe not the same feel as a January 1st twilight type game there between the best team of the Big Ten and the best team of the Pac-12, even though we're not going to get that anymore. Now it'll be a quarterfinal. Indiana at UCLA. Kirk Cignetti, he wins. Just Google him. He told us that at Big Ten Media Days. Wow, look at this line, though. Out to 3.5. Nonstop Indiana money. Look, this is a big game for me over the summer on the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast. Took under UCLA 5.5 wins. Certainly would have enjoyed them losing to Hawaii, but they were able to get that win. We took over on Indiana. I tailed Wes Reynolds on that one, so I'll stay off this game. It feels like this number has gone a little too far. Brad Powers earlier this week on VSiN Primetime did feel that way as well. He took the points with UCLA. Really good one tonight. UCF at TCU, a Big 12 showdown, and we've seen the market move very heavily here in the favor of TCU today. No play for me on this particular game, but very excited to watch this game. High upside for UCF. Love to run the ball. Can they throw it through the air? That's the big question with KJ Jefferson there. Let's sneak in one more. Colorado State. You don't like to hear this, but it seems like a dog with fleas situation. Pros versus Joes is bubbling up as the market's gone from 7 back to 7.5. Money coming in on Colorado, but the public seems to be taking the points with Colorado State. That one, 7:30 primetime on CBS. All right, we got our no-huddle offense out of the way. Let's talk some Civil War. Oregon State. Wake up, Oregon. Dan Rubenstein, alum of Oregon. He joins us next right here on the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
Monday on Follow the Money, a good Monday night football game. The Falcons take on the Eagles. We recap the NFL weekend, preview Week 4 college with Nick Bogdanovich, bookmaker from Circa, and 2 weeks left in the baseball season. Follow the Money weekdays, 4 to 7 Eastern, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Want to see who at VSiN is on a hot streak? Go to VSiN.com/picks to see all the selections and weekly leaderboard of VSiN hosts, writers, and guests. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber and get every pick sent to your inbox daily. Just head to VSiN.com/pro.
VSiN is thrilled to introduce a new VSiN.com tailor-made to the evolved needs of today's sports bettors. Our upgraded navigation streamlines your journey, allowing you to swiftly access articles, videos, and podcasts. Whether you're tuning in live or catching up on your favorite shows, everything is just a click away. VSiN.com guarantees a fluid and responsive experience across all devices, ensuring you stay connected wherever you are. We have enhanced tools such as our betting splits and expert picks, and introduce innovative features like parlay and odds calculators, all designed to make you a sharper bettor. Our How to Bet section is perfect for beginners, covering the fundamentals, while seasoned bettors can delve into our advanced betting strategies for the competitive edge you've been looking for. Sign up for free on VSiN.com or become a VSiN Pro subscriber, where you can unlock unlimited access to every tool, expert picks, and insight that make VSiN the sports betting network.
watching VSiN's College Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network, where you get your winners.
Nobody knows football like VSiN, and for a limited time, folks, you can get your first month of VSiN Pro access for just $9.99. Sign up now, and you'll gain instant access to our daily best bets with a leaderboard to see which bettor has the best winning percentage and return of investment. 19 hours of live programming. We've got proven betting systems, exclusive betting splits from over at DraftKings. Start that monthly subscription today and enjoy your first month for only $9.99. Or bet smarter through the entire NFL season with our football special for just $175. Don't miss out on these limited time offers. VSiN.com/subscribe to sign up now and become a better. It is the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show. I'm your host, Tim Murray, taking you up to the top of the hour. Coming up bottom of the hour, Stormy Bonatoni live from Berkeley as Cal takes on San Diego State. She's got some other thoughts from games across the country, as she also had a nice money line winner last night with the UNLV Rebels. Games to get you updated on across the country. Texas Tech, we saw movement in their direction all throughout the day, and they get on the board first as they take a 7-0 lead over North Texas. That in-game line now sits at 15.5. Oklahoma State, they score early against the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. They lead 7-0. Not much change in that line as that now sits at minus 19.5. We did see a field goal in Memphis, Florida State, so that number has come down a little bit, closed at 6.5. It is now sitting at 4.5. Alabama and Wisconsin sits at 10.5 right now, and I believe we've got a pause in the action there, but Wisconsin is getting some yardage there on the opening drive, and they are moving a bit. So games across the country going on. Once again, we've got an Alan Bowman touchdown there for Oklahoma State, passing touchdown that is. Michigan, Arkansas State underway, still no score there. Illinois just got into the end zone against Central Michigan, much to my chagrin. Looks like a Luke Altmaier touchdown pass, so Illinois on the board there. So a bunch to keep you updated on as games are underway. South Carolina driving inside the 5-yard line here for the Gamecocks as they close at around a 6.5-point underdog there. All right, let's head to our progressive guest line and welcome in a good friend of mine. He is the co-host of the college football podcast, The Solid Verbal. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts. He is also an Oregon alum. It is Dan Rubenstein joining us right now. Dan, I said it yesterday and I said it today on the show. Are your Ducks going to wake up today against their in-state rival, Oregon State? The betting market would say so. It's now out to 18 for the Ducks.
I really hope so. I think there's a good shot, right? You have both the idea that Oregon has been hearing nothing but what is happening to these Ducks, and at the same time, the offensive line should be in a better place, and I'm not as worried about what Oregon State offers on defense. And if you look at what happened in the second half of the game last week, I think the final score is indicative of those turnovers, those fumbles in the second half. And so really it's just playing slightly more quality football, and Oregon's winning that game something like 41-20 rather than the 37-34 final score, giving the ball back during successful drives. And so, yes, I think it's one of those things where Oregon's value right now might actually be kind of great. Like this, if Oregon wins that game last week in slightly different fashion, we're talking about 20-plus points. So I still think there's some value here if Oregon is able to, play to Oregon standard.
Dan Rubenstein joining us courtesy of our progressive guest line. He's the co-host of the Solid Verbal podcast. We have Jeff Schwartz now part of our team here, and I was talking to him last Sunday, and he was able to grab Oregon at a price under 2 touchdowns, and since we've seen a pretty big rise here. Just big picture real quickly on the Ducks, because this is a team that, Dan, I was pretty bullish on heading into the year. I actually thought they were slightly better than Ohio State. That hasn't been the case thus far. Are you concerned about how this Oregon team will be long-term here in the Big Ten? I mean, long-term, this year. Are they able to turn it around? Are they able to fix those holes on the offensive line?
Yeah, I think so. So there are 2 guards who haven't played this year who are expected to either start or see significant time. And so they haven't played, and so they were starting both weeks against Idaho and Boise State. They were starting a walk-on at center, which, as we know, a pretty important position in terms of making the calls, making the assignments, sort of looking at the defensive front and being on the same page with the quarterback. And Dylan Gabriel struggled, as we saw, picking up where the pressure was coming from and getting the ball out quickly or not throwing the ball downfield when he had the opportunity to. And so, you're a couple of weeks into a new quarterback at a new school, a new system for him. And when you look at what Oregon has on its schedule, yes, Ohio State looks to be terrific. But otherwise, there are a lot of teams here that Oregon should be able to get more and more comfortable against, whether it's, Purdue or Michigan State or Illinois or UCLA. I think there's a lot of quality there, but there's also a lot of opportunity for Oregon to grow against those types of teams. So it comes down to offensive line health, because otherwise, I think the defensive line is deep and will continue to improve. I think the linebackers, you're seeing more bodies in there contributing, and they are as deep in the secondary as they've been in the last few years. So it really is just a matter of comfort and reps and sort of mentally getting there.
Injury note here, and I'll get more on it. Tyler Van Dyke has been carted off the field for Wisconsin, so it looks like their first drive has stalled. Braden Locke stepping in for what looks to be an injured Tyler Van Dyke and Wisconsin, and they're going to try a long field goal here. We'll get you updated on that. But more with Dan Rubenstein right now, who joins us courtesy of our Progressive guest line. The Apple Cup this afternoon at Lumen Field. We're used to these games happening in November. We get both of these rivalries in the old Pac-12 on this fall Saturday. Washington State at Washington. And, Mateer was phenomenal last week. Do we continue to see that? Is Jed Fish and, Steve Belichick going to figure out how to bottle him up? The market has moved in the favor of Washington today out to 6, Dan. Your thoughts on the Apple Cup later this afternoon with, once again, Washington now laying 6?
Should be fascinating because we really don't have a concept for this Washington team. They've played Eastern Michigan and Weber State. And so you are counting on some sort of quality because Jed Fish is a quality coach, because Will Rogers is a quality quarterback, and Jonah Coleman at running back. But we really haven't seen it. Whereas at least with Washington State, we saw them last week against a, let's call it disappointing, but still Texas Tech. And to score like they did and to get off the field like they did, the question to me is going to be, what's the second pitch for Wazoo, right? If John Mateer is a good runner and they do have good running backs, is Washington State able to get off the field? Are they able to, score with play action or drive the field with play action, right? That's the question now for Washington State, because we know at their best, they are a running team. And this is a brand new Washington defense, for better or worse. So, yeah, I tend to like the sort of fire that Washington State's going to play with, even if they don't win. I think they're going to keep it close. They kept it close last year, albeit with a different quarterback, but against, very successful Washington team. And so I like the continuity with Washington State, and I think they're going to be playing with some fire.
Will Rogers, 21-26 last week in a win over Eastern Michigan. Not a cover, though, for the Huskies. Should be a fun one later on today. Washington State off to a 2-0 start and a big win over Texas Tech last week. Dan, always appreciate it, man. Enjoy the day.
Hey, thanks for having me.
There he is, Dan Rubenstein from the Solid Verbal podcast. I want to get you updated on the big injury news that I just alluded to. Tyler Van Dyke, the Wisconsin starting quarterback, apparently injured his leg on a scramble. He was carted off the field. His head was in his hands, and Wisconsin did wrap up that drive with a 53-yard field goal, so they get points on the opening drive, but terrible news to see, as it looked like Tyler Van Dyke was kind of getting it going there for this Wisconsin team out of the chute. So a 3-0 lead for Wisconsin. The backup quarterback, if you're wondering, is Braden Locke. Braden Locke, who last year started a handful of games for Wisconsin. We will see what the sophomore has in his arsenal. Quick update from South Carolina. College game day was there in Columbia, and the South Carolina Gamecocks, a best bet from Matt Humans on the podcast. I tailed it as well. They lead 7-0 right now, do the Gamecocks, so they found the end zone first, as looks like Lenoris Sellers called his own number into the end zone. Rocket Sanders, 3 carries for 44 yards at a 27-yarder on that opening drive. So South Carolina with an early 7-0 lead. I got to update you on what's going on with this Florida State offense. It is just terrible. As Memphis goes down the field, they're able to get some points, but Florida State, who started 0-2, they continue to roll with DJ Uiagalelei. He went 1 for 1 for 2 yards on that first drive, and right now it is 3-0 Memphis with that lead, and Memphis with a decent field position, it looks like, to start their next drive. So 3 plays and a punt for Florida State. In opening, I believe it was a pretty. I'm looking at the drive chart here for Florida State. It looks like a pretty good opening situation for Memphis. By the way, I just looked up and thought it was, hey, Memphis got the ball to start. No, Florida State got the ball, fumbled on the second play. Memphis able to kick a field goal. Disastrous start yet again for Florida State as they trail 3-0. How about the performance we saw from the Cal Golden Bears last week, going down to the Plains, winning as a double-digit underdog? Will they keep it rolling? Our colleague Stormy Bonatoni will be on the sidelines, and she'll give us a preview of Cal San Diego State next, right here on the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show.
VSiN's got you covered for the start of the season with our football special. For $175, you'll get access to everything VSiN has to offer. With VSiN Pro, you'll receive daily picks straight to your inbox, detailed analysis on every game, and exclusive data like our betting splits to help you become a sharper bettor. Get all of this for just $175 through the Super Bowl. Or try a monthly subscription and get your first 30 days for only $9.99. Don't miss out on this offer. Sign up now at VSiN.com/subscribe.
Don't wait until fall to start betting the NFL. Get a jump start now with the VSiN NFL Betting Guide and get prepared for this NFL season like never before. The guide has in-depth breakdowns for all 32 teams, best bets from our VSiN experts, playoff predictions, award market previews, and more. The guide is out now, and the only way to get it is to be a VSiN Pro subscriber. Head to VSiN.com/pro to sign up and join the Sports Betting Network.
watching VSiN's College Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network, where you get your winners.
We keep it rolling here on the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show. Dustin Sweetelson will be on set coming up for Live Bet Saturday. Walked in, he said, I could have fed you a great line when I was talking about the Central Michigan Chippewas. He said, what goes better with a sandwich than chips? Brilliant. And I missed it. I missed out on that. Speaking of my chips, it looks like they just had a touchdown nullified due to a penalty. So not ideal there for Central Michigan. Illinois leading that game 7-0. We'll get you updated on all these games here in just a moment. The big news so far is that Tyler Van Dyke was carted off the field. The Wisconsin starting quarterback, Wisconsin, did kick a field goal on their opening drive. Alabama is now attempting a 46-yard field goal there at Camp Randall to try to tie this game up at 3 apiece, and it looks like it is up and no good. Wow, the kicker that was, as Chuck Martin told us, stolen from Miami of Ohio does not come through there. Wisconsin still with that 3-0 lead. All right, let's head to our progressive guest line. You, of course, will hear Stormy later on tomorrow on the VSiN NFL Tailgate Show, but you'll see her late night tonight on ESPN, roaming the sidelines for Cal San Diego State, and she joins us right now. You were on the sidelines last week, Stormy, for this Cal game, and what a performance. I mean, I think people overlook the fact that Cal was dealing with a ton of injuries. Their superstar running back, Jaden Ott, had 11 yards on 10 carries, and they went down to the Plains and whooped up on Auburn. So I guess, what was your biggest takeaway from Cal last week before we spin it forward to this Saturday night?
It was the defense. Absolutely. For me, 5 turnovers, 4 interceptions on Peyton Thorne. Probably should have been 5. We all know that wasn't PI in the end zone late when Auburn ultimately did end up scoring to bring it within a touchdown. They played so well that they forced a quarterback change this week. Hank Brown going in for Auburn. But I was really, really impressed defensively. And this is a Cal program that has, really built itself on turnovers for a while. But to see them go crazy the way they did, help out their offense, was really impressive to me. And offensively, Fernando Mendoza was near perfect in the first half of that game. I know a big point of emphasis with him from the coaching staff has been, okay, you start off games well. Let's see how we can translate that to the second half and adjust. And when the defense is adjusting to us, how do you handle yourself? He was 19 of 21 in the first half against Auburn, passing the football, despite, as you mentioned, Jaden Ott not being 100%. And full disclosure, he's not 100% again this week, too. Yeah. Talking to Justin Wilcox and the coaching staff, they said he really gutted it out last week. He's probably going to try to gut it out again this week, but he's been limited every single day, called him a shell of himself last week. So I wouldn't expect a lot from Jaden Ott today if he does end up out there on the field. But fortunately, this kid, Javian Jet Thomas, the young kid behind him, has played really, really well, had a nice 36-yard touchdown last week, and has stepped up, obviously not to the level of an All-American running back in Jaden Ott, but he's pretty darn good too.
You went to San Diego State. It's your alma mater. I bet on them last week, much to my chagrin. I'm back on them this week. I think it's a tricky spot for Cal coming off of the Auburn game. Florida State next week, which may not be as exciting as maybe we once thought preseason. But what can we expect from this offense of San Diego State? We were expecting, this sizzle, but they just may not have the guys for Sean Lewis yet.
Yeah, I know you love those letdowns and look-ahead spots, and Cal seems to be kind of right in that sandwich position. But I will say, for as much as they've talked about not reading the press clippings, one article they did read was one Coach Wilcox sent all of them saying it was about Marcus Freeman, your guy, saying that they believed the hype. And so that's kind of been an inspiration for them this week, is not to let their foot off the gas. But as for San Diego State, yeah, I mean, we saw so much of the talk from Sean Lewis about wanting to be Aztec fast, right? And moving the ball quickly, being effective. And it was anything but that last week against Oregon State. And they still were in it, right? They were only down 7-0 going into the fourth quarter. They had the ball at the goal line to tie it, fumble at the goal line. And then that's kind of all she wrote for the rest of the game. I don't have high hopes for this offense today. Truly, I obviously would love it from a sideline perspective to have a more competitive game. The spread is what it is for a reason. And I have some concerns about whether or not their true freshman quarterback who earned the job out of camp is going to be available in this game at all. He was limited all week at practice, saw way more reps for Javance Tupuata Johnson. and he had his leg in a full-blown leg brace throughout the course of the week. He, similar to Jade Notwright, he gutted it out last week when he was injured in the game. He didn't want to come out. But with them having a bye week upcoming and knowing that he's not 100%, so I'll give you a little inside baseball. Usually, every week when I'm doing sideline, I request the quarterbacks no matter what. You just want to talk to them. And I did not get the quarterback this week. And typically when I don't get the quarterback, it's either because they don't want them talking about an injury or they don't want to waste my time talking to somebody who's not going to play. So you just kind of read between the lines on that. It depends on the day. They don't want to say they're not going to waste my time. I don't know. So I just don't have a ton of confidence that he's going to be out there. All
right, Stormy, before we let you run, Stormy Buonantony, of course, our colleague here at VSiN. You can see her late night tonight on ESPN. Washington State, you're on the sharp side here because you laid it early this week with Washington out to 6 now. So quick thoughts on the Apple Cup coming up at 3:30 Eastern.
Yeah, I think Washington's just got better guys. I love what Will Rogers has done, and I know it's been against lesser competition, but he's looked very comfortable. 5 touchdowns, no picks, nearly 80% completions. Jed Fish, if anything we saw from Arizona as an example, is what he's going to do at Washington. He's a great coach. And Steve Belichick on the defensive side has done a really, really nice job. They've yet to allow a touchdown through 2 games. And I kind of think Washington State's just getting a little too much credit for some reason for their win over Texas Tech last week. Did everybody forget that they just went to overtime and should have lost to Abilene Christian to start the season? They gave up 51 points to that team. So I don't know. I feel like Washington's just not getting as much credit, and Washington State's getting a little bit too much.
She's Stormy Buonantony. You could see her tonight on ESPN. Of course, catch her tomorrow with me and Rich Gannon on the VSiN NFL Tailgate Show. Always appreciate it, Stormy. Have a great call tonight.
All right, thanks, pal. See you in the morning.
There she is, Stormy Buonantony. You can catch her late night tonight, joining us courtesy of our progressive guest line. Let's get you updated on what's going on across college football. Another stalled drive for Florida State. What a shocker as the offense continues to fail. The defense, as I noticed, has actually been playing decently well. The lone field goal came courtesy of a fumble from Florida State. So another third down upcoming for Memphis here. Oklahoma State has a 7-0 lead over the Golden Hurricane of Tulsa. So that was maybe a letdown spot potentially there for Oklahoma State coming off of their comeback win over Arkansas with a big game waiting in the wings against Utah on the road at Tulsa. Another possible ugly dog situation. Alabama and Wisconsin, we mentioned Graham Nicholson, the stolen kicker from Miami of Ohio. He missed a 46-yard field goal. So the Badgers right now up 3-0, trying to get a drive here going. But once again, no Tyler Van Dyke. He exited the game with a apparent knee injury, carted off the field. Head was in his hands there. So not great for Wisconsin. Braden Locke in there. He's 1 for 4 to start out of the start of that game. So right now that game sits at 3-0. Wisconsin still with the lead. Late steam came in on the Badgers, getting as low as 14. Ultimately closed at 15. As we look at the live line right now for Wisconsin and Alabama, down at 10.5. Another game that I was on, and hopefully we can hold on to our butts here. A touchdown was taken off the board, but Illinois looks to be driving again here. Illinois up 7-3 on Central Michigan. The live line out to 22.5. Michigan on the board against Arkansas State, but ladies and gentlemen, the Red Wolves are moving. They're inside the 10-yard line of Michigan, and a punt going to be forced here by the South Carolina defense. South Carolina up 7-0. Lenora Sellers has the only touchdown in that game. He also threw an interception in the end zone. Mentioned Taj Brooks, the stud running back for Texas Tech. He is back. He has a touchdown already, 62 yards, but the Mean Green, they could put up some points, and they put up some points in a hurry. A 75-yard touchdown strike, trailing 10-0. Chandler Morris hit Wyatt Young and made that game 10-7. So the Red Raiders leading that game by 3. There was some movement on the Red Raiders there. How about a game coming up momentarily? Boston College and Missouri. We've seen some conflicting, battles, so to speak, with picks from VSiN experts. As we know, Chris Felica, he liked Missouri in this spot against Boston College, but there were a couple other folks who looked to grab the candy with Boston College here. So, look, Missouri, a team that is expected to challenge for the college football playoff. The schedule, very manageable, especially for SEC standards. But this is maybe a little bit of a surprise of a test here. You do wonder, Boston College, is it they're better Florida State is that much worse, or somewhere in the middle. And I'm a big fan of Bill O'Brien, the head coach. Now, the general manager for the Houston Texans, not so much. But as a head coach, look at what he did at Penn State. An impossible situation there. Found some success. He goes to the NFL ranks, of course, with Houston. Goes, back to the college ranks to be the offense coordinator for Bama. I think this Boston College team could be feisty this year, but not going to be a play for me today. But that game coming up at 12:45. Looks like Missouri will go off as a 14.5-point favorite. Thanks again to Stormy Bonatoni. We will wrap up the show. Picks galore for all the games that are still to kick off today. We'll wrap things up right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
In the heart of downtown Las Vegas, a sports oasis awaits. Stadium Swim, the ultimate outdoor amphitheater, built for the ultimate sports fan. With a colossal screen that brings the game closer than ever. Reserve a daybed, private cabana, or lounge in the center of it all. 6 pools to dive into as the game heats up. And the best part, there's never an off-season. Open 365 days a year. Stadium Swim, it's always spectator season.
Looking for the ultimate sports betting podcasts? VSiN has got you covered. With a wide range of podcasts covering every major sport, we're here to help you make smarter bets every season. The Baseball Betting Show with Greg Peterson gives you daily insights into finding value on each day's MLB card. And check out Long Shots, where we deep dive into the world of golf betting, providing you with expert insights to help you bet every tournament. Find all of these podcasts and more at VSiN.com/podcasts or your favorite podcast platform.
watching VSiN's College Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network, where you get your winners.
Putting a bow on the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show. I'm your host, Tim Murray, live here in Las Vegas at the Circa Sportsbook. Each and every Saturday, you can catch me and a variety of guests getting you ready for the college football slate. Thanks to everyone who joined the program today. We'll quickly get you updated on the games across the country before looking ahead and rifling through more best bets. Oklahoma State has now taken a 14-0 lead over the Golden Hurricane of Tulsa. Alan Bowman, his second touchdown pass of the game. Texas Tech, we saw over money come in on this game, maybe for good reason, as Taj Brooks, after missing last week, already 2 touchdowns there for the Red Raiders. Tyler Van Dyke carted off the field for Wisconsin. Badgers do lead 3-0, but the Alabama Crimson Tide just got a 4th down stop. They have the ball now in Wisconsin territory inside the 35-yard line. 3-0 Badgers with the lead there. Illinois leading Central Michigan by a score of 7-3. The Chips just got the ball back after a 4th down stop, so they will be starting inside their own territory there. Central Michigan, one of my best bets of the day in a letdown spot. Memphis leads 3-0 as Florida State has got a whopping 31 yards of offense on their first 3 drives. Cincinnati up 3-0 on Miami of Ohio. 3-0 lead for NC State. And as I just got a text from Jimmy Ott, who joined the program earlier, Garrett Nussmeier, maybe not up to the task for his first road start right now. It is 7-0 South Carolina late in the first quarter. All right, let's run through my card real quickly. A couple of these games obviously have started. Central Michigan plus 21, South Carolina plus 7. Those games have already started. Notre Dame, Purdue, the under 47 in this game. Total across the board at 47. There were some 47.5s out there. We don't know what's going to happen at the quarterback position. It seems like it will be Riley Leonard with that shoulder injury a go, but if it is Steve Angeli, I would actually lean a little bit towards Notre Dame and laying the points. Maybe it's gone too far. But as of right now, all indications are it will be Riley Leonard. And if that's the case, I think this is more of a game played in the phone booth. I would take the under in that one. Florida plus 3.5. Unfortunately for Gator fans out there who wanted DJ Lagway to keep the job, he did not. But we're starting to see the hooks go away there. I'm going to take Sunbelt Billy here in a big spot as a home dog, plus the 3.5. There are a couple 3.5 still out there. Wyoming, going to have to hold on to your butts for this one. This is a ugly home dog, but the Pokes off of a loss to an FCS program, 0-2 ATS, 0-2 straight up, playing BYU, who is fresh off an 18-15 win over SMU. I'm going to take the Pokes here, catching double digits. We just talked about this with Stormy. Give me the points with San Diego State. Another ugly dog situation. Utah State at home. Split my unit. First under for the game. Full game as well for Utah State. Cam Rising not expected to play. And then who doesn't want to back the worst team in the FCS? I do, as give me Kennesaw State plus the points. Real quickly, worth noting, a best bet from Kenny White earlier today was UConn plus the points, and that number has actually ballooned up to 17. So if you want to ride with Kenny White, you're getting late money on Duke, so you can get some points there with the UConn Huskies at 17. All right, let's take a look at the best bets from last night's Circa Friday Football Invitational. Once again, if you're a VSiN Pro subscriber, you get all of these bets into your email on a Friday night. A lot of college games, so let's run through them. Florida International against FAU. We've got a taking the point situation, so I like the riding with an ugly dog. We've seen line movement today. This game down to 4, but there you go. A Florida International plus 5. Tulane, Paul Bovey. He's taking the points with the green wave plus the 13 against Oklahoma. Oklahoma didn't look all that impressive against Houston, and also a potential look-ahead spot to Tennessee out there. Chuck Edel, we talked about his best bet already, similar to Kenny White, likes the points with Virginia. Chris Felica, the Bear, riding with me. He is on the under 47 in Notre Dame Purdue. Steve Fezzik, who had a 6-1 week last week, he's laying the chalk with the Iowa Hawkeyes. I'll be honest, I don't really disagree. I don't think Troy's going to score a point in this game. I would look under team total 7.5 for the Troy Trojans as they head out to Kinnick Stadium. We've got a over in Kennesaw State and San Jose State at 42.5. Sean Higgs is on Tulsa plus the points. He's going to need Tulsa to get on the board here as they trail 14-0. We also have an under Oregon State, the Civil War. And then lastly, Chris Macero, professional handicapper out in San Diego. He's taking the candy with Boston College. So there's a look at your best bets from last night. Let's rifle through a couple more of, actually, we got more best bets here. Brett McMurphy, he is riding with the team in his backyard, the UCF Golden Knights, or maybe they're just the Knights now. They did drop the Golden, but he's taking the 2.5. Chris Piper, though, on the other hand, is taking the opposite side. He's taking minus 2.5. We've got over in UConn, Duke. Scott Pritchard going over 46. Kelly Stewart, she likes South Carolina plus the 6 right now. South Carolina leading 7-0 and are driving inside the 25-yard line. And then Alex White, the daughter of Kenny White, is on Middle Tennessee. Wow, that is an ugly dog too, and that's been the theme today. You get some 7.5s out there. All right, speaking of Kelly Stewart, she similar with me, is riding with Wyoming plus the points. As we heard, her best bet is South Carolina. She's going to take the points with Purdue, and then also Colorado State plus the 7. Actually, you can get a 7.5 out there with Colorado State right now. So Kelly Stewart, 4 of her best bets are on the college football ranks there. So she had a 4-3 week last week, was able to hit her best bet. Her best bet right now, South Carolina, and South Carolina facing a 3rd and 2 inside the 20-yard line. Let's go to Mark Lawrence. He's got a bet on Wisconsin. Wisconsin plus 16.5. That game obviously underway, end of the first quarter. Right now, Wisconsin leading that game 3-0. Late night tonight, he's going with Kentucky as he's going to ride with the Big Blue Nation. 84% of tickets earlier today when talking to Chuck Esposito from the station's casino on the Bulldogs. So he's taking the home dog plus 22. Theme of the day, ugly dog. Mark Lawrence, ugly dog. UTSA, meep, meep. He's going to take the points with UTSA against Texas. Texas in clearly a letdown spot, but we heard the bite from Steve Sarkisian earlier in the show, which was, I showed them the clip of the Notre Dame loss to Northern Illinois, and we're not going to let that happen. More college bets for Mark Lawrence. He's on Oregon State. The market continues, folks, to come in on Oregon in this particular spot. It is now up to 18.5 at a couple of shops here, including Circa. So the money filing in on the Oregon Ducks. And then Washington State. You heard Stormy. She liked to lay the chalk with Washington on this game. Mark disagrees. He's going to take it with the Cougars. Mike Sanford earlier in the show also thinks the Cougars could pull the outright upset. So there are Mark's plays for the week. All right, let's go to Scott Pritchard. His best bet is going down to Durham, North Carolina. He is going to take Duke and UConn over 46. The market has moved a little bit here out to 47. So he seems to be on the right side of that. There's a 47.5 out there at DraftKings as well. So that's one of Scott Pritchard's best bets. He's laying the chalk with Indiana against UCLA. Those hooks have started to show up. He's taken the points with Purdue. That seems to be a popular play here this evening as Purdue, once again, taking on Notre Dame. And right now the market sits at 7.5 with a total of 47. There is a 7 out there if you do like Notre Dame. And then the backyard brawl, he's going to go over West Virginia and Pittsburgh. Total sits at 61.5 in West Virginia and Pittsburgh. He's going to go over the total there. That is his one of his favorite plays, not as his best bet, but is going with 61.5 there. That market has moved since last night. All right, lastly, let's hit on Steve Fezzik. Steve Fezzik, once again, courtesy of the Circa Friday Football Invitational, 6-1 last week, hit his best bet, and he's going all college yet again. So he is laying it with Florida State, which is not off to an ideal start as Memphis leads 3-0. I imagine he just felt like this was a big market overreaction, but once again, the Florida State offense is absolutely dreadful. He's going over in UConn Duke over the 46. South Carolina game already underway. Texas Tech game already underway. Miami over against Ball State. We haven't had any opinions on this Miami Ball State game. He's going over 54.5, which is still out there at a couple of shops. 55 pretty much market wide. And then another game he's got in this noon window. He took Louisiana Tech, who right now is taking on NC State. That game just 3-0 early in the second quarter. His best bet, laying the chalk with the Iowa Hawkeyes. So there you go. Once again, become a VSiN Pro subscriber, and you get all of those best bets from the Friday Circa Invitational right into your email. All right, best bets for me coming up in that 12:30 window. We're taking the points with Florida plus the 3.5. We're going under in Notre Dame, Purdue. Keep a close eye on who's warming up there in West Lafayette. Is it going to be Riley Leonard, or could it be Steve Angeli, the backup? I'll say this. If Steve Angeli does get the start, which I am not anticipating, but if he does, I think 7 would be a cheap price on the Irish. All right, stay tuned here on VSiN for the Pro Football Tailgate Show tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. But coming up next, Live Bet Saturday. And we got Patrick Maher, Jeff Schwartz, Wes Reynolds. He's actually on assignment. And then Ready, Set, Bet coming up at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. All right, that's going to do it for our show. Thanks to everybody who joined us. Let's get some winners home here on the day. This has been the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show.
The only thing better than football is the excitement of all the contests.